love that. Oh God. Oh my God. It's my favorite thing.
The elevated train by my window doesn't faze me anymore.
So we're here with Alicia, and you've been in the Heights, and you toured with Evita and If Then, and you just finished In the Heights at the Regional Theater, which we'll get to that. First question, what got you started into theater and dance and stuff like that?
I'm an only child to start, so maybe I've always kind of like appreciated the limelight. But my dad was a musician, and it was sort of I was always around somebody who was performing in a sense. I started dance classes really young, honestly, because I was so clumsy. My parents were like, maybe we should just like see if this helps her not get hurt so much, and it just kind of went from there. I didn't I did little things in church and like school when I was very young, but once I moved to Florida, that was when I really started taking, I suppose, a serious interest in it. There's a place in Stewart called Starstruck Performing Arts Academy, and I did my first production there. It was Oklahoma. It was a student edition of Oklahoma, and I was in 7th grade, so I guess I was like 12. And I was like, oh yeah, I guess I do like musical theater. Like I really like doing this, and it just went from there.
So you just toured, well, you didn't just tour, you did In the Heights, but you just toured with this incredible cast of If Then, I almost said with If Then, with James and Adina and LaShawns, and then of course with the newer cast. What was that like?
I mean, it was amazing. It was my first time doing a tour from start to finish. And besides getting to work with, those incredible people with Jackie and Matt Tamira, as far as the new people, and everyone else, like some original cast members, some new cast members, myself being a new cast member, that was one of the most lovely and incredible groups of people to be able to work with. And you might not know personally, but a lot of people know that touring is very hard because you're away from everybody, and your cast is your family, and it was amazing. It was so much fun. It really was a family, a really great group. So I can't say enough good things about it. I think we all feel a little weird. Like I just hung out with Jackie and Trey and Emily the other day, and we were like, I miss tour. I miss tour. I kind of want to go back. Like I want to go and do that again. So, I mean, if anybody didn't see it, they could still know that was like an amazing experience.
You mentioned that touring life is a little different than having a show where you're with everyone. So what is touring life like?
I would say touring, it's like 2 parts adventure and 1 part like trying to figure out what else you want to be doing, because when you're performing on the road, really it's busy. I mean, you're performing 8 shows a week, but you have all day to do whatever it is that you want to do. I mean, generally we do like understudy rehearsal on Thursday day, but other than that, you get to explore, but you're only there for a week or sometimes 2. You don't always get to be there that long. So you either have to like do your research in the city before and kind of know what you want to do. Like I ate a lot of food. Like that would have
been me.
Matt Isaac was like our food guy, and so he would always be like, well, I already looked up this place, so we're gonna go there. And I mean, I had some of the most incredible food on the road because somebody did their homework and I got to like tag along. But you get paid to travel, so that's nice. Other than that, I don't know. I think it's an experience everybody should do at least once if you're a performer, and you get to bring the Broadway shows to people who don't necessarily get to go to New York. Like I have family all over the country, and they've never seen me perform professionally until If Then. So that is a really cool experience, and I mean, like, how awesome that gets to be.
Did you have any favorite stops that you went to?
Pretty much everywhere in California, but I grew up in Florida, so I'm partial to places that are sunny and have a beach. But Toronto was gorgeous. We were there for a month, and it was my birthday while we were there. Even though it was cold, it didn't really bother me. It was a really awesome place and really cool experience to, like, we lived there. At least, like, I was part of the group that stayed in, like, the apartments out in Boys Town. So it felt kind of like living in Chelsea in New York. Where else was, like, super cool? Denver, where we started. I love Denver. And Seattle. Why didn't I think of that first? Seattle. We were only there for a week, but I love that place so much. Every time I visited, it's only been a week. So I want to go back when I have more time to, like, hang out there. Chicago, one of the big cities that was really awesome. Yeah, those are pretty much my favorites.
So how was In the Heights?
In the Heights was amazing. I just did that in Houston, Texas at Theater Under the Stars. And I feel like I do that show every 3 years. Because, like, from doing it, I first did it in 2010, did it on Broadway, and then I think it was 2 years after it closed that I did it again in Miami as Carla. And then I was Carla again in Texas. And each time in the regional houses I've done it, it's been a combination of people who've never done it before and people who have, which is so cool because it's a story that everybody should have an opportunity to tell. But if you've done it before and you're very lucky to have done it before, you get the honor to tell it with someone new and see their version, because it's not the same show twice. Like, my Carla in Miami was nothing like my Carla in Houston because I was working with different people. So that was a cool experience. We had some really incredible people. I don't know if you know Isabel Santiago, if you've ever worked with her. She was my Daniela. Then she's one of the people, she originated it on tour. We had Rayan Gonzalez was our Abuela Claudia, and she was incredible. April Ortiz and Danny Bolero were the Rosarios. And as far as, like, people have done it before, Carlos Salazar was our Graffiti Pete, like, original people, but Blaine Krause, Anthony Lee Medina, Michelle Beth Herman, Chelsea Zeno, these, like, new people who have done it and, like, just were able to take it and make it their own. And it was so lovely to see and have that. And of course, and then people who have done it before then didn't do it, like Felipe Arroyo, who I grew up with, was our Sonny, and he was great. Jonathan Arana was our Piragüero, and he did it with some people in California. And I just, like, and an ensemble of people who are phenomenal. I can't say enough good things about everybody. That experience, it was only a month. And it was pretty life-changing. I will always love that show.
What do you plan on doing next?
The actor thing. So now I'm back in New York, and it's been a year since I've been home, and now it's just a matter of, auditioning and getting out there and working. I work at a really cool bar that I love, and have no complaints until the next thing starts. It's just the actor cycle.
Yep. Are there any shows that you would like to see that are on Broadway right now?
Yes. I would love to see The Color Purple. I haven't seen it yet, and I've heard such amazing things about it. I want to see Significant Other. My God, there are so many. So many that I have actually seen that I was really grateful to see. I saw Falsettos recently. That was really, really lovely and really incredible. I want to go see Aida at the Met. I have a friend who was in the Heights at Tuts who's dancing in it. So, that is just as interesting. Broadway is fantastic. You guys remember, like, go see the original stuff. Like, go see a ballet. And I live very close to Lincoln Center, which is I'm very grateful for. So hopefully I'll do more exploring in that area.
Okay, what are you obsessed with right now?
God. So when I got back, I started getting into, I'm a million years late on this, but I started getting into Downton Abbey, which I finished. Yes, it's like 6 or 7 seasons. I finished it. Power watching. I adored that. Other than that, I got back into, like, exploring the city. And that's going to sound a little crazy, but, when I moved here, I moved and I was in Inwood, and then I've pretty much lived everywhere but the Bronx and Brooklyn. And now my friends after 6 years have been scattered to all the boroughs, and I'm actually getting to go and like hang out in them and really explore and see New York, instead of like constantly working and like seeing the same blocks every day for like a year, which is fine because you come to New York to work and live, but mainly work, so you kind of forget to live. So other than that, I've been trying to see more museums and try to like see like cool exhibits that are popping up, see more shows. I had like a day of Broadway a few weeks ago where I saw the 3 o'clock Hamilton and then the 7:30 On Your Feet, because my friend Christy Prades is the Gloria understudy. So she went on that night and I was like, I have to go. So many other amazing people that are in that production. So yeah, that's kind of what I've been obsessing and like doing more of.
If you hadn't gotten into theater, what would you be doing?
For about like 6 weeks, maybe 7, I was really interested in the idea of being a race car driver. Don't know why. I think I had a friend at the time who was like really into cars, and I think it was also when like the Fast and Furious movies came out. So I thought like, I'm a good driver. I could do that. Like that'd be awesome. Other than that, probably something to do with animals. Like I would maybe, I can't say that I would be a vet because I'm very squeamish, so I wouldn't be very good at saving an animal. But I would definitely rescue or like try to get more people adopting. And I mean, I could do that now theoretically if I really put more time into it. But something with that's probably what I would be doing if I wasn't performing.
Do you have any really funny audition or onstage mishaps?
I feel like audition mishaps are like a dime a dozen. They happen way more often than I think any of us like to admit. Not one yet that's been so like detrimental, like made me want to go cry. I think the only one that I can remember feeling like, why did I choose to do this, was the first time I ever went to the Wicked dance call. Because I had just moved to the city and I didn't know what I was going to get myself into. And, you know, that choreography is like, you know, the upper part of your body's doing one thing, but the bottom part's doing ballet. And it's amazing and it looks great, but I was not ready. And I just remember going in there and everybody else had also, you know, you audition for it enough times, you kind of know the choreography. So I stuck out, and I remember going like retail therapy shopping afterwards and calling my parents and being like, I don't know if this is the right thing I'm doing. Maybe I jumped the gun. But I feel better about it now. On stage mishaps, the one I can think of off the top of my head was during If Then. It was our first day back from a layoff. It was our first layoff. So we had we didn't really have a lot of layoffs in the beginning. So we did all of Denver had a layoff, and then we had like 3 or 4 months straight, and then another layoff. So we came back, we were in Tampa, and if anyone hasn't seen the show, we use a turntable. And it's the opening number, you know, she's like, what if I hadn't stopped and listened to that guy playing guitar? There's Tyler with the guitar, everything's coming up. We're all in the park, and the turntable just starts going. And I'm in a yoga pose, I'm in like standing bow, and the table's going, and I'm like, whoa, whoa. And I see everyone, Dee Dee's coming on with the baby, and she gets caught, and everyone is seeing each other like, what are we supposed to do? And so it turns, it doesn't do a complete rotation, it stops, like, just, so we're all, if this is the stage, we're all like this. And so we had to, we just kept going. And we didn't stop until the turntable was supposed to go. And then it went, and then everything was back to normal. And that happened a couple times. The turntable, like, during the moment explodes, like, wouldn't rotate. So we just stand up out of our seats and sing. Everyone's like, wow, that's cool. Technical difficulties.
Just a couple.
Just a couple. What are you going to do? The show must go on.
So I was reading your bio, and I saw that you had multiple different accents that you can do.
God.
And I was wondering if you could do one of your favorite accents.
So I guess the accent that most people like that I do is this Russian accent, and she's kind of like a character. It started in this restaurant that I worked in called Del Frisco's, and guests would ask me to like be their server in this Russian accent. Her name is Svetlana. It's very deep accent. She come from Russia to the New York City to do the acting. It's not going very well, but she tried very, very hard to do the accent. Yeah, just for you guys.
A show has multiple stages, right? So there's the audition, and then you have the callbacks, and then you have, or multiple auditions, and then you have the callback, and then you have the rehearsals, and then you have the put-ins, and then you have, you know, the sits probes and everything. What is your favorite part of a show, and why?
I think I have two parts. The first is when we've all kind of learned the sits probe is hands down when the group gets to meet with the band and we finally like hear it, because there's something, I mean, like you hear it on the piano for like 5 or 6 days and you can understand the music and like you're learning it, but the moment you hear the band for the first time is like it's so amazing. It's I can't even compare it to anything else. That would probably be my number one moment. And then the other moment I think I love the most is when we all do a really intense group number for the first time together and we get through it. And it's because like when I was doing Heights at Tuts, we didn't have a lot of time. We had like a 10-day rehearsal process to put all of the original choreography on its feet in a stage that was actually a lot smaller than Broadway or the tour. And Jose Luis, who did Broadway and the tour, he's graffitied on tour, and Rebecca Kritzer, who also did the tour, they set the show. And I remember we were doing Carnaval, which is, I mean, you can't not feel like crazy elated after that number. But like the first time we all got it done, we all did it, and it was a mixture of like relief and kind of like stress, and like everybody was like, but in a higher like excited way, and it's camaraderie, you know what I mean? That's your, like, you're out there with your family and these people telling the story, and especially with like Heights, it like means something to everybody has that moment where, especially when Piragua singing, you know, Parriba esa bandera, he's talking about like the homeland and everybody, and how like beautiful my homeland is, and you were all dancing and living in that moment. And when you get to connect like that with your family on stage, it's awesome. It's so cool. I love it so much.
In a hypothetical world, tomorrow, you're allowed to have lunch with anyone who's ever been on Broadway ever. Who would it be and why?
Man, you'll make me think. Because I feel like I want to go like back further. Do you know what I mean? Because I like to believe, maybe this is like high of me, but I like to think that anybody living now, there's a possibility that I could meet them if they're alive, and you know, situations happen, then who knows, like maybe we would meet up and have lunch, maybe not one-on-one, but like in a group setting or something like that. I don't know, I would want to go like all the way back to like the first plays that were ever done, and people who were figuring out like the musical idea, because if we go all the way back to like the first minstrel, like that's a little far, and it's a little like, you know, out there, but just like people who were, no one in particular that had an idea to do something, or like when a story is being told, like when Jonathan Larson was creating Rent, like to be a fly on the wall, not even have lunch. Like the moment when something monumental gets made in theater, I don't care who, anybody that did something really special for theater, that would have been all of them. I think that I would like to have lunch with them and just pick their brain and see how it all went down.
Well, thank you for doing this interview.
Thank you.
I will put all of your social media in a little box down below so everyone can follow you and add you and whatever else you do on social media. And I guess we'll talk later.
Your brand design is perfect, it's profound.